What's up, guys? Hope you're doing well. It's the end of 2023. To some people it was a good year. Some people it was a bit mediocre. For me, GTA 6 was announced. I mean, can it really get any better than that? Let's be real. But you know what it was a good year for? Music. That's my way of kind of like implicitly stating that I did not watch a lot of shit this year. Not that any of it was bad. I just was not really I just didn't watch a lot of stuff, but I did listen to a lot of stuff. And, music's just like a big part of my life in general. I love music. And I thought it'd be fun to maybe just talk about some of my favorite albums this year. And of course, if you guys have some albums that you really love this year, please tell me in the comments below. Especially if they aren't on this list, that'd be great. This could be like a little like music sharing hub because I love listening to new music. I've been on a new music listening spree lately. But yeah, my list has a few caveats. This isn't like a serious ranking or anything. Like, I'm not giving anything like number placements. Everything is interchangeable, and also a lot of the albums on this list weren't necessarily released in 2023. These are just the albums that I was listening to in this current year that I really like. So yeah, this is gonna be like a casual list, but I kind of like that. So yeah, if you guys are ready, just sit back, grab a snack, maybe get your headphones. I don't know if you guys can see this. You can't. Oh god, my set design is perfect. I got my record player here, in which I have 0 records for it. Let's get it. Yeah, I didn't really have any clue on how to transition out of this. I'm just sipping my protein shake and editing. Tyler, you can cut now. You can just cut this. You can. Yeah, so we're starting right off with the 2022 album, Melt My Eyez, See Your Future by Denzel Curry. Yeah, it's a 2022 album. Suck my dick. Oh, for real though, in terms of personal taste, rap has definitely been my number one like genre of music across all my life. I don't know, man, like recently, just like in the past 2 years, the mainstream sound has just really lost me. Not to be like an old head, even though I'm 21, but like I'm just not a huge fan of kind of like the opium style, like the Ken Carson Destroy Lonely. I'm not a huge fan of that. And also I just feel like a lot of mainstream songs right now, at least in rap, are just very cookie cutter, very boring. They don't really grab me. At the same time though, Apple Music kind of did me dirty and said Drake was my number one artist, which is crazy. Maybe I'll have to do a separate video talking about that because I feel like I have to do like a TLC, like my worst confession type vid. But then, alas, a gleaming beam of light in the form of Denzel Curry. The production on this album is glorious. I mean, there's just so much variety, which is one of my main complaints with mainstream rap. He goes from jazz rap to boom bap to even some lo-fi. There's just a lot of variety on here, which I really appreciate. You have these ethereal, soothing beats on the first track, Melt Session 1, as well as tracks like Mental and Angels, where Denzel's really just putting himself up on display, just showcasing his vulnerability to everybody. But trust me, if you're looking for bangers, you're not leaving empty-handed, my friend. You're good. You have tracks like Walk In and X-Wing, which are just, perfect, kind of like traditional like rap bangers. But then you have songs like Worst Comes to Worst, John Wayne, Ain't No Way, Sandro, these tracks that are really hard hitting, but they aren't exactly traditional. Like Denzel here really is experimenting with a lot of different sounds, and you can just tell he's having a blast making the music on this record. You can really tell that he's been wanting to experiment with these sounds for a while. And I think it comes out beautifully in here. I don't really know other adjectives to describe it. And also the writing on this record complements the instrumentation beautifully. His writing's a really creative mix of expressing his little quirks and his views on life generally, people, situations, unabashedly, while also taking accountability for the things that he knows that he did wrong towards others. I think other than the musical variety of this record that I love so much, I think also the themes of self-growth in the lyricism and in these tracks are really what hooked me into the album and keep it in, you know, my rotation till today. So yeah, I definitely recommend it. And also, while we're talking about rap, I might as well talk about Jid. Jid has become one of my favorite artists over the past year, just in general. His flow just feels like it was specifically engineered to just fit, like just hit my hippocampus direct on. It's just that, it's that infectious. And Jid's music has basically the same qualities that make Denzel Curry's music so great. He's not scared of hopping on an irregular beat, on an irregular BPM, and the storytelling on this album is just incredible. I mean, I highly recommend 2007, the last track on this record. I think this album solidified Jid as one of the best rappers out right now, and I'm really excited. Hopefully he comes out with a new album this year. I would love that, or like a mixtape. I guess he's making something with Metro Boomin. That's gonna be amazing. I really hope that comes out this year. All right. Sunburn by Dominic Fike. I'm just gonna say I'm a Dominic Fike stan, bro, but I came before those Euphoria stans, okay? You Euphoria stans, you got nothing on me. I started listening to him probably like late 2020, 2021, pandemic times. And I basically instantly clung on to his 2018 Don't Forget About Me demos. He's essentially the epitome of kind of like the alternative rock or alternative pop sound that I really like personally. All of his music just feels like, you know, a young adult anthem. That sounds so fucking stupid, but like it sounds like a 20-something just, you know, fucking up, but just also exploring life as well and embracing kind of like the quirks of being young and like figuring out relationship shit. But also, I mean, I think he nails all the fundamentals as well. He, you know, he's not scared of getting in his traditional rock bag as well. And dude has a lot of variety. Do you see the key word amongst all these albums and artists I'm talking about? Variety. Artists, if you want to make a Tyler Somerville song, I'm gonna end it there. Let's but getting back on track, King of Everything on his demo tape, that's just Zoloft, bro. That's just serotonin just injected. It's a sensual experience. You guys don't, I don't think you guys are ready for that track yet. Came out in 2018, but you guys still gotta wait. And all these qualities I think are at his best on this sophomore album of his, Sunburn. And really the title speaks for itself in terms of describing kind of like the feel of this album. It feels like after a long summer day at the beach and you feel like that sunburn kind of seeping in. You lay on your bed, the cool sheets, you feel that drowsiness from being in the sun too long. This is kind of what that album feels like. It feels like summer with all the highs and the lows associated with it. For every upbeat track you have like Ant Pile, Dancing in the Courthouse, Mona Lisa, Bodies. You have tracks like What Is Weed, which starts off the album, and it's essentially this melancholic, reminiscent look on his past and the difficulties his family, his friends, and himself have faced. And he's essentially just wanting to, or he's wishing to, that he could go back to tell these people that, hey, in the future, everything's gonna be good and I'll be able to take care of you now. Like, I think a lot of people aren't a huge fan of his writing. I agree in a sense that it could definitely mature, but I still think, I mean, especially in this, on the first track, I just think it's a really good concept and I think he nails it pretty well. And I think he consistently nails all the tracks and the concepts that he has in mind on this album for the most part. Frisky is another track that my girlfriend and I especially clung on to. Just this infectious tune about letting your worries go and just having fun a little bit, getting drunk in fancy places. You know, people don't want to make an effort for you, but I want to make an effort. You guys could learn from that. You know, a lot of these relationships I see, like, I don't know, there's not a lot of communication. I don't think there's a lot of enjoyment. I think there's a lot of passive aggressiveness. I think you guys got to check that out. My personal favorite track though is definitely Pasture Child. That's my favorite. Just such a beautiful combo of strings and drums alongside Dominic's beautiful, delicate singing about this kind of on and off relationship he has with like this southern pastor style chick. I got the speaker somewhere. Do you hear this? This is angelic. All right, I gotta stop this. I gotta work my 9 to 5. If you like that sort of alternative while also being kind of the new mainstream pop sound, I definitely recommend this record. I mean, this is a video where I'm basically recommending everything to you, so go listen to it. I tried my best to wait to talk about this record to maybe later because I know I'm going to talk about it a lot. But we're here. Now, prior to this record coming out, I did listen to a bit of Phoebe Bridgers. I listened to her, I believe, 2017 EP, which I did like, but I had no experience listening to Julian Baker or Lucy Dacus at all. But this album grabbed me, man. I mean, it's been on repeat since it came out, basically. I just adore the sound of this album. I mean, Phoebe, Julian, and Lucy are just insanely talented, and I think if anything, that is what you see on this record, just that talent on display for basically every track. I mean, going into specifics, Emily, I'm Sorry is definitely the most emotionally hard-hitting for me. In my opinion, this is one of Phoebe's best songs. Phoebe can sometimes be a little too much in terms of her writing, but I think here she just really nailed that balance between abrasive songwriting or abrasive themes and also just adding so much emotional depth to the track via that writing. And like, I could go into the contents of this track, the lyrics, but I'm not a verified counselor yet, but this track is just such a gorgeous just look back, just kind of like someone taking like a summary view of their relationship with this person and looking at their own problems, their partner's problems, and the problems that just arise because of the environment that they're in, and just giving their partner just, hey, listen, even though, you know, I got problems, you got problems, we got problems, but I still care enough about you to give you empathy. I think that's just an incredibly powerful track. Can't really say anything else. But alongside those more emotional, kind of slower tracks, then you get bangers like Not Strong Enough or Satanist, which is one of my new favorite tracks on the album. Talking about Satanist specifically, I mean, that drum and guitar mix, bro. And once again, because they are boy genius, the boys, they just match the song beautifully, and it creates this basically satirical take on like fuck the world music, kind of looking at like these sort of antisocial groups or groups that want radical change and pointing out kind of the hypocrisy within them. They hoist these people up to be their essentially group leaders to vouch for their group's values. Then it comes out, oh, shocking reveal that the leader that they hoisted up are performing the actions or engaging in stuff that totally contradicts the group's views. I mean, it's kind of like clockwork. At the same time, though, even though they are kind of poking fun at these groups and poking fun at the actual actions these groups perform rather than the rhetoric that they spout, towards the end of the track, it transforms into like this beautiful ballad, kind of like this dreamy send-off, in which they sort of give sympathy to the concepts of counterculture and these groups, not saying that any of them are justified in terms of like performing violence or anything like that, but just acknowledging that, hey, even people that do go and do these crazy things, you know, they're still people and they want change like everybody else. They want, you know, they want food, they want safety for their families, they want economic security. And yeah, this track, while it might seem like a simple just headbanger, it's really anything but. I think if anything, this is like a quintessential boy genius song, and definitely a highlight for any of the three's careers in general. I mean, I could basically talk about every other track. Like True Blue is a great one. Cool About It is another one of those tracks where the idea for this song is just as good as the actual product itself. Leonard Cohen is a one that I've been listening to recently that I love. Lucy's singing here is just beautiful. Just looking back at this car ride that she's having with somebody and where they're like playfully flirting silently, just talking about like all the little awkward quirks that happen in the situation, while the guitar just matches that energy perfectly. It just feels like you have the window going down and the wind's flowing through your hair. And while that's a sensual experience, it's also there's also an invigorating energy in that as well, and I think the guitar just picks that up beautifully, as well as Lucy singing in the other two with the background vocals. If I had any problems with this record, it would just be in terms of personal taste. I'm not a huge fan of slow songs. I just like songs with just a little bit of energy, and I'm not saying that those songs are bad at all. I'm strictly saying that this is just a personal thing of mine. And those slower tracks like Letter to an Old Poet and We're in Love, they're great tracks. They have that emotional energy, definitely. But yeah, I just need to be in a certain mood for those songs, and even then, I typically just don't gravitate towards those songs. But overall, the album's just fantastic. And I just wish that Julian, Phoebe, and Lucy just make like a rock EP, you know, that just go into those more exciting songs, those more exciting tracks. And I don't want them to beat a dead horse if there's no energy there, but there clearly is. I'd love that, but you know, they could take a break. They just gave us a great album. Next one, oh, this is amazing. I love this album. We're on to Absolutely by Dijon. And now that we're on this album, Let me talk about a completely different artist for a second. Like all people, I love Frank Ocean's music. I mean, Channel Orange and Blonde, I put them on a pedestal a while ago, and now I don't even think I can take them off. They've directly influenced my tastes in music. The vulnerability in his writing and the experimentation of his tracks, while we kind of see that in more mainstream areas today, I still think he just pulls it off like no other artist can. And I think those are the qualities that just make people love Frank Ocean's music and just him as an artist. And let me get this out of the way. I'm not saying that Dijon is a Frank Ocean clone, far from it. But I think the same qualities that make me attracted, to just that passion, that experimentation, that vulnerability, really, in Frank's music is here in Dijon's music, even though he pulls it off in a different way, which I really appreciate. And I think what makes Dijon unique is just the pockets this guy enters. Like on the song Many Times off the album, one of my favorites, dude is just racing against the BPM on this one, and somehow he's like keeping up. And even when it sounds like he's kind of falling back a little bit, the charisma and the confidence in his singing just makes up for the difference and turns it into his strength, his unwavering just confidence in his voice and in his singing, and in the track itself just boost it to an amazing feeling. Talk Down, another one of my favorites, just such a groovy song, and then the compounding of his vocals as the song goes on. You know, there's not a lot of variety in terms of the lyrics on this track, but just the compounding of his vocals just again bring it to that height where I just fall in love with it. And Rodeo Clown, towards the end of the album, is kind of like my new favorite track on the album. It's kind of a sleeper cut, and this track is just essentially him crying. It sounds like he has been crying 30 minutes before the recording session, just talking about this love interest in which, hey, he's patient, but you keep standing him up. And he's like, what the fuck? You know, like, what are you nervous about? What are you afraid of? And dude gets squeaky here. Dude really gets squeaky on this track. And for some people that's probably a turnoff, and that's totally fine. I could totally see how it is, but in my opinion, I think he nails it. I think even with those awkward inflections, he knows how to balance it somehow with the melodies on, and it just creates this, I think it just resulted in one of the most vulnerable tracks I've heard this year, and one of the most emotionally affecting songs I've heard. I totally recommend Dijon if you're a Frank Ocean fan, if you're just a fan of music. Got him. In the last album I'm going to be talking about extensively in this video, Scaring the Hose by JPEG Mafia and Danny Brown. This is the first album I've heard from both of these artists, and I don't even think I could talk about this record. I mean, I don't think I'm educated enough. I feel like I'm illiterate in this. All I can say is that it just sounds like alien. It sounds like end of the world rap. This is like the Fallout version of rap, where after the bombs go off, after the radiation is like kind of okay, JPEG and Danny just go out into the wasteland, picking up these fragments of noises and sounds and somehow piecing them together to create just greatness. That vocal is crazy that JPEG hops in. Oh. Dance. These super abrasive beats and production in general somehow translates in just these awesome, it just creates such an interesting and unique energy. It truly feels like the end of the world. It's like, you know, when you experience something different for the first time, like a new experience, in which you kind of have like that fight or flight energy within you, where it's like, yes, you feel anxious, but you feel energized at like the same time. That's kind of what I get from this album. And yeah, I'm sorry, I don't really have much else to say. I don't really know what else there is to say about this album that hasn't been said, but yeah. So those were just some of the albums that really hooked me this year, and I think will probably continue to be downloaded on my phone till next year. But that definitely does not mean that albums that I left out of this list that came out this year, or any other album, are not good. That is very much the contrary. But I do have some honorable mentions, starting off with both of SZA's records. I've started listening to a lot of SZA. She's one of my top artists this year. SOS is fantastic, but surprisingly, I kind of been going back to Control more often than SOS. I think SOS, I can't relate to it as much. Now I think both records are great. I just do go back to Control for the album's concept. I think Control's concept is better than SOS in my opinion. SOS feels kind of more like a mixtape. Gemini Rights by Steve Lacy. I love Steve Lacy. This is one of those albums that comes once in a blue moon that has no skips for me. I'm just excited. Hopefully he comes out with a new album soon. Midair by Paris, Texas. I'm actually surprised I didn't think about this one while making my original list. I definitely recommend it if you just want some new fun rap. And it doesn't take itself too seriously like some other alternative rap. I think it's still very listenable. Next I have Call Me If You Get Lost, the estate sale edition by Tyler the Creator. I've always respected Tyler's sound, but honestly I wasn't a huge fan of it for a really long time. Only until this year, I really went back to some of his previous albums, and it finally clicked. And I think especially on Call Me If You Get Lost, dude just knows what he's doing. And the additions he has with this deluxe, the estate sale version, are great as well, if you just want more Tyler. Sampha with Lahai, and both of Sampha's records, actually. I started listening to Sampha this year. And honestly, this is one of those albums that I would have talked more in depth about, but I think I just need time for it to sit with me, especially Lahai. Just see how it affects my life and how I view things, and just kind of like understanding what he's talking about more. Because there's a lot with this record. Just not even just the lyricism or anything like that, but just the essence of Sampha on this record and the difference between this and Process. I'm gonna leave it there. But yeah, guys, those were just some of the albums that I liked this year. Please let me know if there's other albums that you like that weren't on this list. Tell me what they are in the comments below. I'd love to find some new shit. And yeah, thanks for watching. Have a great holiday season. I don't know if I'm gonna come out with another video this season, but looking back at my past uploads, probably not. But yeah, guys, have a good one, and I will see you later. Peace.